We earn over $500,000 a year. We could buy a house tomorrow. We rent instead. And no, this isn't a video about how homeownership is a scam. It's about one number I found when I actually did the math, not the mortgage versus rent math everyone does, the real math. And once I saw it, the whole debate looked different. Hi, I'm Amy. Welcome to Amy's Hidden Ledger, where we actually do the homework on the money questions everyone argues about. Here's the thing people don't say out loud. If you rent in America, even if you make good money, there's this low hum of shame. Family dinners where someone asks if you've looked at houses yet. Friends buying their second place. That one coworker who won't stop talking about his basement renovation. You feel like you're falling behind on some invisible scoreboard. I felt it too. And for a long time, I assumed the feeling meant something. Then I ran our actual numbers. Stay till the end. I'll walk you through that exact numbers, our real Southern California case, so you can see what changed my mind. Here's what everyone gets wrong. Most people compare rent to a mortgage payment. Rent is $1,800. Mortgage would be $2,200. Easy, just $400 more and I'm building equity. That comparison is almost useless because rent versus buy isn't one question, it's two. Cash flow, what leaves your bank account every month, and wealth building, and what you actually own 10 years from now. Those two questions almost never have the same answer. The internet loves one number rules. Real life is rude and insists on adding property taxes, maintenance, closing costs, and the part nobody wants to think about, what your down payment could have been doing sitting somewhere else. So when someone tells you renting is throwing money away, or the opposite, buying is always better, they're not giving you an answer. They're skipping the question. So what does the math actually look like right now? Earlier this year, Realtor.com ran the numbers across the 50 largest US metros. Buying a starter home cost more per month than renting in every single one. On average, about $920 more every month. That's not a rounding error. That's a car payment. That's daycare. That's a grocery budget. Across those metros, buying costs roughly 55% more per month than renting the same kind of place. And the reason isn't mysterious. In 2021, you could get a 30-year mortgage around 3%. Today, Freddie Mac has it around 6.25%. Double the rate, roughly double the interest cost on the same house. Meanwhile, prices didn't come down. The National Association of Realtors just reported 33 straight months of year-over-year price increases. Prices up, rates up, monthly cost way up. That's why old advice feels insane right now. The advice was written in a world that doesn't exist anymore. Let's be fair though. Zoom out 50 years and American home prices have gone up. Not smoothly, not without the 2008 scar tissue, but up. And if you own long enough, something quietly powerful happens. Your mortgage stays roughly the same while your income grows, rent rises, everything else gets more expensive. That's payment stability, one of the best financial features available to a middle-class family in America. You also get forced savings. Every mortgage payment builds equity whether you feel disciplined that month or not. A house can be a real wealth machine. That part is true. But here's the part the pro-buy side skips, and this is the part people hate, because it means the decision isn't morally simple. When you put $100,000 to $200,000 down on a house, that money is sitting in home equity, but it could have been doing something else. $1 invested in US stocks and left alone for decades compounds in a way that's honestly hard to emotionally process. It's the kind of chart that has ruined a lot of people's Sundays. Now, big caveat, I'm not saying stocks always beat houses. Past returns aren't future returns. Most people don't invest with discipline, and a house is also a place to live, which a stock portfolio will never be. But if renting costs less than buying, and you actually invest that difference, plus the down payment you didn't spend, over 10, 20, 30 years, the renter doesn't automatically lose. Sometimes the renter wins, sometimes by a lot. That's what rent is. Throwing money away completely erases. Okay. Enough abstract. Let me show you our actual numbers. We live in Southern California. Housing here doesn't behave like housing in the rest of the country. So treat this as a stress test, not a template. The principle works anywhere. Our numbers are just louder. The kind of home we'd buy costs around $2 million. Rent for an equivalent place is about $5,000 a month. 20% down, $400,000 in cash. Mortgage at today's rates, around 6%. Most people do this comparison as mortgage versus rent. That skips most of the bill. Mortgage payment plus property tax plus maintenance, realistically about 1% of home value a year, plus insurance, minus what we'd get back from the mortgage interest deduction, which helps less than people think, because the deduction caps out at $750,000 of loan. Add it all up. Our real cost of ownership, about $12,000 a month. Rent, $5,000. The gap is $7,000 every month. Now, the pro-buy argument is, yes, but you're building equity. True. Over 10 years, between principal paydown and reasonable appreciation, the buyer builds serious wealth. But so does the renter. If they invest that $7,000 monthly gap, plus the $400,000 they didn't hand to a bank in a diversified portfolio earning a normal long-run return. I expected buying to win. That's what everyone says. It didn't. In our situation, at these prices, at today's rates, the renter came out ahead after 10 years. And that's in Southern California, where housing has been strong. In a less frothy market, the result might flip. That's exactly the point. The answer is local, specific, and sensitive to the inputs. So, how do you figure this out? Don't trust my numbers. Don't trust anyone's single answer. But answer these 4 questions honestly, and you'll be further along than 90% of the people arguing about this online. 1. What's the actual gap in your city? Pull up a rental in the neighborhood you'd buy in, compare it to the full cost of buying. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, and roughly 1% a year for maintenance. The Zillow, NerdWallet, and Realtor.com calculators all do this properly. Zillow is the easiest to read. NerdWallet is the most thorough. 2. How long will you actually stay? At today's rates, most analysis suggests you need at least 5 to 7 years before buying clearly beats renting. If you might move in 3, buying is a bet, not a plan. 3. Will you actually invest the difference? Be brutally honest. If you rent and spend the savings on lifestyle, renting loses. The math only works if you actually invest the money. A house, for all its inefficiency, is a savings plan that works even when you don't. 4. How much does flexibility matter to you? Not financially, personally. Career moves, family changes, just wanting the freedom to leave. Owning a home is a commitment. For some people, that's a feature. For others, it's a cage. Neither is wrong, but you should know which one you are before you sign 30 years of paperwork. 4 questions. That's the whole framework. No calculator gimmick, no one number rule, just the trade-offs, honestly stated. So, should you buy or should you rent? Here's the honest answer. Buying is a great decision for the right household, in the right market, with a long enough timeline. It builds wealth, it gives stability. It's one of the only tools ordinary Americans have that does both of those things at once. Renting is also a great decision for a lot of households right now in a lot of markets, especially if you're not sure where you'll be in 5 years. Especially if the gap in your city is big enough to seriously invest. What renting is not is failure. A house can be a beautiful financial move. I just don't think anyone should be emotionally bullied into calling every other choice throwing money away. That phrase has probably caused more bad financial decisions than any other sentence in American culture. Stop asking who wins the rent versus buy debate on the internet. Start asking which trade-off you're actually making, because once you see the trade-off clearly, the shame goes away. And what's left is just a decision, your decision, made on your own terms. I'm Amy. I'll see you in the next one.